Moore, the president of the Downeasters. We want to give a warm welcome to all of our barbershop friends from other chapters, and we're delighted to have you with us. And I see that JimHenry just popped on, so would you please raise your hands to give a hand cheer for JimHenry? And Jim,
Thank you. Hi, guys.
we're delighted to have you with us. Our philosophy is you're the maestro, so we would like to hear from you first about whatever you want to talk about. We would like to hear some of your war stories from your quartet and chorus experiences. And if you're amenable to leave some time for questions, but we're going to have people use the chat feature rather than try to speak out. And we'll ask everyone to, except for you, to mute their microphones. So, JimHenry, folks.
Well, first of all, hi to everybody. It's great to be with you all. Been looking forward to this evening, and really thrilled to see so many people on the call. That's super exciting, and I really appreciate that a lot. And I really am more than happy just to to open up for questions. Once I get started, it's hard to stop me from talking. I think that was that an Abraham Lincoln quote? Once I get started, I'm too lazy to stop talking, or something like that. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions, and if it helps to sort of get things started, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself and my journey with barbershop and kind of what it's meant to me. And then if any of this raises any questions for all of you, please feel free to ask, and you can do it in a chat, or if that's the easy way to do it, that's fine. If somebody wants to just unmute and ask me, that's okay too. But I was raised in a barbershop family. I imagine some of you on this call might have been as well. My mom was a sweet Adeline. My dad was a barbershopper with a chorus called the Daniel Boone Chorus, which in St. Charles, Missouri, for a while, Daniel Boone lived with his son, and there's a home there, a Daniel Boone house, and so we have strong connection to Daniel Boone in St. Charles. So we had the Daniel Boone Chorus, which is the chorus that I grew up in with my family. Dad was a director. My stepdad was the first director of the chorus. Back in 1963, I believe, is when they started, and he was the charter director. My dad was a director at one time for quite a while, and I was just raised with that. Went to Sweet Adeline chorus meetings with my mom a lot, so I think I knew Sweet Adeline songs before I knew men's barbershop songs. And the Daniel Boone chorus even wore like coonskin caps. I mean, that was like our outfit, the brown vest with the coonskin cap. That was the Daniel Boone chorus. When I was 11 years old, after already going to a lot of rehearsals with my dad, I wrote a letter. The rule was that you had to be 16 years old at least to join the chorus. But I was only 11. But so desperate was I to join this chorus that I wrote a letter to the board of directors and said, could I be a member of the chorus? I was singing tenor at that time. That's a joke now, but at that time I was singing tenor, and my voice hadn't changed. And I said, I'll work really hard. I'll be polite. I'll learn all my notes, and I'll behave myself in rehearsal. Anyway, I remember sitting at my house when board meeting night, and I knew that they had a board meeting that night, and they were going to discuss this request from me. The phone rang, and the president of the Daniel Boone Chorus at that time, a guy by the name of Ron Gruters, who still sings in the chorus, was on the other end of the phone and gave me the good news that yes, they had voted and decided that this 11-year-old kid could join the chorus. So I think that was probably the greatest day of my barbershop life. Certainly, I felt like it was the greatest day of my life in all the 11 years that I had been alive on earth. That was probably the best day to that point. So fast forward a few years, I grew up with that chorus. David Wright came over. And by the way, the Daniel Boone chorus was always kind of competitive. Like we would go to all the contests, but we were not an audition chorus. We never did auditions. We sat down to rehearse, but we did go to the contests. We never did so well. We used to compete in Central States District. You'd compete in the spring in the small chorus contest, and like the winner of the small chorus contest could compete in the fall with the big choruses. And I remember very well that the Daniel Boone chorus and a chorus from Denison, Iowa, called the Happiness Express chorus. Those two choruses were the ones that were always kind of competing. Those are the two small choruses. Now the Happiness Express chorus from Denison, Iowa was directed by a guy by the name of Don Farrell. His son was Fred Farrell. Fred was a young kid from Vale, Iowa, and sang in his dad's chorus, and I was singing in my dad's chorus. Little did we know that years and years later, the two of us would sing together in a quartet and win international together in Crossroads. Fred's the tenor of Crossroads, so we met each other through Central States District long before Fred moved to Louisville, Chicago, and then Louisville, and finally to Florida. Anyway, I remember after Dad quit directing, we kind of went through some bad periods. I don't think we were ever more than about 20 to 25 guys. And finally, about 1979-ish, we went to the small chorus contest and came in last place at the small chorus contest. So I have been to the last place of the last place in our district. Then David Wright started directing the chorus not long after that, actually the next year. And within just a few years, we had grown to about 75 or 80 guys. And by the late 80s, early 90s, we had competed at our first two international competitions. We came in 6th the first year and I think 10th the next year. And after that, and David had made me his assistant director. I was still kind of a high school. I was still in high school, just getting ready for college. No, I guess I was in college by that time. And after that second international, David Wright came to me and said, I think that the chorus, he said, I feel like I've taken the chorus as far as I can take them as a director. And I think when you're up in front of the chorus, you seem to have a way with the guys and a way with the music. And I think we should switch roles. I think you should be the director and I should be the assistant director. So I became the director. David became the assistant director. I had actually directed my first chorus at the age of 18. When I was going to college, it was a Sweet Adeline chorus. So I had that was the extent of my directing experience. And we changed, and that year we changed our name from the Daniel Boone Chorus to the Ambassadors of Harmony. We thought that might have a little more gravitas for the kind of chorus we were trying to be. And, we've gone on to win 4 times. So I have been from last place at our district to first place at international and every place in between. So I think that David and I both feel like we are experts at any stage of chorus development, which is kind of a nice thing to be able to do. And then I also, of course, sang with 2 quartets, the Gas House Gang, back in the 80s and 90s, mostly 90s. Gas House Gang sang together for 18 years. First 15, I sang with my brother who passed away from cancer. We won the international in 93, and we had the distinction of singing in all 50 states. So some of you might have seen us when we were up around Maine area, and probably around, 15 or 16 different countries at that time. So really loved my time with the Gas House Gang. We were just a chapter quartet. None of us had any dreams of ever winning international. So that was just a great surprise. And then we kind of broke up after Rob died. We filled out the rest of the shows that we wanted to do, and then kind of let it go. It just wasn't the same without Rob, who I think is one of the all-time great baritone baritones in barbershop, by the way. But just a few years later, I joined three other friends of mine, Mike Slamka and Fred Farrell, who I mentioned, and Brandon, and we formed Crossroads. And I think we formed in 2007 and won the International in 2009. The same year, the Ambassadors won our second international contest. So that was a busy weekend. And Crossroads is still singing together, and looking forward to doing more in-person singing eventually. So that's kind of my story. Mom competed in international. My wife, I met through barbershop. She's a Sweet Adeline chorus and quartet singer. So I owe a whole lot to barbershop, and it's been super good to me. And from real life, I'm the head of choral studies at the University of Missouri St. Louis, where I've been since 2004. Before that, I was 9 years as the head of another college in our area called Lindenwood University, and Vocal Spectrum, if you're familiar with that great quartet from 2006 International. They were all my students at Lindenwood. So I've had a whole lot of great quartets that have been my students, so I've been a lucky guy. Double Date, a wonderful mixed quartet that's very popular right now. They were all my students at UMSL, so it's been just a wonderful life in barbershop and in music. And I have to say, I really feel blessed that the good Lord saw fit to make music my hobby and my livelihood. There's really no better way to spend the day than making music, especially with young people at a college level. And so I just feel really grateful for that. So that is my long, drawn out, boring story. Not that any of you wanted to know, but there it is. So if any of those things bring up any questions or anything, I'm seeing there's questions in the chat. So I can kind of start answering these. What do you think accounts for the rise of your chorus from a 20-man last place chorus to perennial champions? All right. I'm so glad, Fred, that you asked this question. The short answer is David Wright. That's if you get David Wright in your chorus, that's a big step in the right direction. David was just, he's a genius, first of all. David Wright, I think, is the greatest arranger in barbershop history. Just an amazing arranger. The well just doesn't run dry, but he's just a genius of a person. He was, until he retired just recently, the head of the mathematics department at Washington University, which is a very prestigious university in our country that happens to be based here in St. Louis, which is what brought David here. And David came in. Part of it is that his arrangements were so fun to sing that I think it attracted a lot of people to our chorus. But more than that, David just came in and decided he wanted to do something with this chorus. He wanted to make it better. So he immediately started instituting things that we had not really done before. He instituted auditions, for example. So they weren't hard auditions, but at least enough that we could know that a person could carry a tune, He instituted us standing up on risers for our rehearsals instead of sitting down in chairs, so that we could really always have that full experience of rehearsing the way we would be performing. He instituted bringing in coaches from the outside, doing weekend retreats. And he was just an amazing personality, just a great guy. And everybody just kind of caught the fever and got excited. And he knew what he was doing. He knew about music. He was extremely intelligent with music. He had great ears, could hear the chords. And I think that when you have that kind of great thing happening, that role, I think people want to be a part of it. I just think excellence begets growth, and David really did that. And then the other thing that David did that I think was maybe his greatest gift is that he instituted a structure in our chorus that was very mentor-based structure. The moment David became director, he had me and my brother and Rick Knight. All three of us were in the Gas House Gang, but we weren't in the Gas House Gang yet. We were just, Rob and I were basically kids. The Gas House Gang came later, but we were three, the more musical people in the chorus, and he made all three of us assistant directors and gave us songs to direct and mentored us and sort of talked to us about how we were directing and talked to us about how the music should go, and really taught the three of us a lot about how, to get better and how to make the chorus better, and a lot about music. And by fostering that, eventually, I became better. I went to college for music, so I just came back and I became the director, and we just have continued to foster that. It's a really, it's definitely not a director running the whole show. We have a robust administration. The director is just one cog, but we make really good use of our team. And that's something that some choruses do really well. I think ours does do that really well, but that's because of David. Other choruses, I think they kind of let their director, or maybe their director and president, do everything. And that's never been a good idea, because it doesn't really, it doesn't prepare you for the future, because if something happens to the director, then what have you done? Who have you prepared to take over from there, So David was just amazing. And we just kind of kept that same pattern. And little by little, we just kept getting coached. We made lots of mistakes along the way. And if you want to know about them, I'll tell them to you. But, little by little, we just kind of kept doing a lot of those same things. Tons of coaching that would take us to new levels. And eventually, we just kind of went over that line and won the first international in 2004. And I think once we won, then all of us were convinced we could win, because we were really just had this attitude of a small town, maybe not small town, but I mean of just a hometown chorus. And once we got good enough and won the international, we all kind of walked a little bit taller and had a little bit more pride in what we did. And I think that really helped a lot. So I guess that's it. Does that answer your question, Fred?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'll just read them down here. So let's see. Oh my gosh, you guys, thank you for these questions. When did you transition to bass? And how easy was the transition? Well, Mother Nature did that for me. I didn't have a choice in the matter. It wasn't a choice. When I started singing tenor, I was singing tenor because my voice hadn't changed yet. So the transition happened when I went through puberty. Was it easy? It was not easy. It was horrible. It was terrible. For so long, I couldn't sing tenor anymore, but lead, baritone, and tenor were all too high. I didn't have much of a falsetto. Bass was too low. So I knew at the age of 15 that my career in barbershop, this style of music I love so much, was done at the age of 15, because I couldn't sing any of the four parts. But thank goodness, time passed a little bit and my voice got a little bit lower. I still cannot sing tenor, lead, or baritone anymore, but bass it was. So during that time, it was not easy, but I didn't have a choice in the matter. What are you doing to increase participation of minorities, and especially people of color? That's from Arthur, or I don't know if you go by Arthur or Art, but I'm really happy that you answered that question, because we have made a really conscious decision to do exactly that. This is something that we thought about way back when. My dissertation is on the African American origins of barbershop music. So it's something that's near and dear to my heart. Part of my dissertation outlines the entire history of that 1941 international competition. I'll give you the brief rundown for those of you who might not know the story, but basically what happened was, the international chorus or quartet contests started in 1939. Society started in 38. And the first international contest, or national contest, they called it at that time, was in 1939. So this would be the third one, 1941. And of course, our organization was founded and based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Not a hotbed of of progressive thought in the 1930s, let's just say. And the quartet from the New York City area, and they've been holding barbershop quartet contests in New York City, and historically, the winner of their little New York contest, which would happen in Central Park in New York City, would come and that would be the New York representative to this international. Well, it just so happened in 1941 that the winner of that contest was a group of railroad redcaps. These are sort of the luggage people, and they were black men. One was was very young, like 12 or 13, 14 years old nephew of one of the other singers, and they called themselves the Grand Central Redcaps. So word got to our founder, O.C. Cash, that New York was sending this black quartet to the National Convention, and O.C. Cash immediately said, no, that is not going to happen. That it would be embarrassing, that it would be uncomfortable for the women to have a bunch of black men coming. And the worst part was that the second place quartet from that year was also a black quartet. So they weren't invited either. So the New York representative was the third place quartet, which was white men. It turned out to be a really big deal. A lot of letters went back and forth between Bob Moses and Al Smith. Those are names you guys might know if you're at all familiar with New York history. And Al Smith even did a presidential run, and Bob Moses was sort of seen as the guy who, basically built New York City. There were even some celebrities. Barbershop historians like Sigmund Spaeth wrote letters saying, listen, this is a black style of music. How can you deny black people from being in this contest, being a part of barbershop? And O.C. Cash's rebuttal to that was that this is not primarily a musical organization, it's a social organization. And as a social organization, it will function like other social organizations at this time, especially in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and be segregated. So we only allow white members in our society. And that's the way we stayed until 1963. So we were an all-white organization until 1963, which is just about the time that the Daniel Boone Chorus was getting started. I often wonder how in the world, what would our society look like? Because if you've ever listened to or studied these early black close harmony quartets, our society would be very, very different and probably really exciting and I just always wonder, what would we be? What would our music be like? What if we'd allowed black people to join back then? But we didn't, so all we can do is speculate. Anyway, all of that to say, the ambassadors have worked really hard to try to, in our little corner of the world, bring in more diversity of all sorts to our chorus. It's not easy to do. One of the things we do is a lot of youth outreach projects. We have a thing called Acapalooza and Acapalooza Summer for high school kids. We have the Recruits, which is a youth mixed chorus within our chorus, the first mixed chorus in the Everyone in Harmony Barbershop Society. And we've done a few other things. We've even had things called Project Barbershop, where we go out and coach schools. And for all these organizations, we make sure to target primarily black schools. Now, we target all high schools, but we just make sure that we don't neglect to target the black schools, so white schools, black schools, and here we've got a lot of white and black students that are all in these things together, which is wonderful, wonderful. And we instituted what we call a gospel night, where we partner with some of the great Black gospel groups, including the St. Louis Symphony has a gospel chorus that's primarily mostly Black, called In Unison Chorus. And once every year or two, we do a big gospel concert, which brings a lot of Black people who come to see the other groups, and it brings a lot of Black people to this concert that see us for the first time. So, and we try to go to their concerts. It's really important for our chorus to make sure that we're present at the Black chorus concerts that go on, the gospel nights that they have. And they sometimes give these Black churches give concerts for their chorus. And we show up and try to wear Ambassadors of Harmony shirts so people know that we're there and that we're part of this musical community with them. We still only have, I think in our chorus, we still only have about 6 or 7 active African-American men in our chorus, a few more in our mixed chorus. So, we're hoping for more as time goes on, but at least those are the things that we're doing. I'm talking way too much. I'm sorry, you guys. I'll just keep going. Is there a best way to learn intricate arrangements, especially for the bass? Songs like You Don't, You Won't. Well, Beryl, for the quartet, whenever we can get learning tracks, we get them. That's the best way that I know. I'm a visual learner, so I have to look at the music and, do learning tracks. I can read music, but it's way easier to have learning tracks, I find, especially if I'm holding music. And then you just have to go over it and over it. The Ambassadors of Harmony, we have all recorded tracks. Tim Warwick does almost all of our tracks. And in our chorus, we really basically do not learn the music in chorus rehearsal. The guys are responsible for learning music on their own and then coming to rehearsal with the music learned. That's what we instituted a long time ago. So the directors will say, for next week, learn measures 25 through 58. And the guys get their learning tracks and they learn it, so that we can come together and immediately just start working on that music. So learning tracks are invaluable to us, and that's how we do everything, learn everything. Any tips for vocal crafts or activities that work reasonably well in virtual or Zoom rehearsals? This is tough. Obviously, you have to do this on your own. There's no way for a director, unless you're one-on-one, to really be able to coach somebody, because we can't sing together in a group. I will say that the Ambassadors are making use of Jamulus. I don't know if y'all are aware of that software. We've got some really smart guys that have actually been able to hook up Zoom so that we have a little bit of a visual, even though the visual aspect is a little bit laggy. But Jamulus is a program, you can't see each other, but you hear each other, and you can sing up to, we've had 35 guys, and you can sing in real time with each other and hear everybody. So look up Jamulus. I can tell you more about that if you want. And just last week, we started doing parking lot rehearsals, where guys are literally driving up in their cars, singing into microphones in their cars, and able to hear the rest of the chorus on a dedicated FM station, while the director stands outside and directs the sea of cars so that people can see it. And the director has headphones, so I can hear everybody in all their cars. And the guys are all in their cars, so they're very, very safe. And they can hear each other through the radio. They can hear the things I tell them through their radio. And actually, believe it or not, it kind of works. They can see me, and I can kind of see them through their windshield. And we're singing together. If somebody last year would have said, I got a great idea, let's all park our cars in the parking lot and rehearse that way, I would have laughed them off the stage. And just a testament to where we are in this world. It's like somebody came up with that idea, and we're like, Yeah, let's try that. And it works really well. But again, it takes a lot of guys who are willing to work hard and are technically oriented so that they can kind of set it all up for us. If any of you are interested in any of those things, I can put you in touch with those guys to give you they'll be more than happy to talk to you about how they do that. What are the most important things a quartet needs to focus on to become very good? Oh my gosh, I love your questions, you guys. This is one that I wish every quartet would ask me, because I've got strong opinions about what a quartet needs to focus on to become very good. So here's the first thing I'll say. Don't sing music that's too hard. Everybody hears the International Champ Quartet, and that's the song they want to sing, like You Don't, You Won't. And not all quartets can do that. I tell every young quartet that forms in at my schools or whatever, just start at the beginning with easy songs and learn how to sing together. Learn how to form vowels that match. Learn how to tune things with easy music that's very homophonic and that you can just ring chords. Do not go immediately to the big stuff. Learn to enjoy simple barbershop that you can learn the notes quickly and learn how to sing together and form vowels. The Gas House Gang was a chapter quartet. When we first started getting together, we spent half the night in our rehearsals was spent trying to match each other's vowels. Not learning a bunch of, firecracker arrangements. The other thing I will say to a quartet is most quartets rehearse all four guys most of the time. And both Gas House Gang and Crossroads, almost half the time, we would rehearse duets. Duets is a great way much better way to rehearse, because two guys can sing and two guys can coach. And it really works well. Lead and bass, maybe start with that. And if the lead and bass are singing great together, and they just sing little parts and have the other two guys listen, you got to trust one another and not get mad at each other for criticism. Everybody's trying to help each other out, and work with two so that you've got coaches every week. They're your own guys, and you don't have to know a lot about music to be a good coach. All you have to say is, that didn't sound like it was in tune. You don't have to understand why. Just try it again till it tunes up. Or you say, that didn't sound together or whatever. But coach, and you can do any combination of duet. It doesn't have to always be with the lead. Baritone bass duet is great. Tenor bass duet is a great duet. Really good duet. So that's what I'd say. Go to the basics, duet, vowels, match those vowels and match those timbres. I'd say that to any quartet, even if they're really like seasoned singers, I'd still say the same thing. I was always struck at how some higher pitched speakers can sing with so much power in their bass voice. Is that all about vocal training over the years, or more a function of natural ability? It's both, I know basses that are just very natural basses. I was never a natural bass, especially the whole time I am more now than I was with the Gas House Gang. But yeah, I definitely took voice lessons, and I recommend voice lessons for anybody who's really serious about wanting to sing. Of course, you should find a good coach and learn how to breathe properly, learn the stuff you need to know. If you're really serious about it, a good voice teacher will help. And you can just take normal classical voice training, because barbershop is mostly the same thing. But I will say this, you mentioned specifically the bass voice. I was just talking to one of my students today who's trying to sing bass. The secret to bass, everybody, is to be more, be a little bit more speech level with bass. Basses try too hard to sound like basses, and that's where they fall into some traps. Oh, they swallow it, or they look down and lower their larynx, and it makes them feel great in their head. But the real secret to bass singer is kind of just like speech level. This is exactly what I was working on with my student just a few hours ago today. He just said, Dr. Henry, how can I just get more of that resonance in my voice? I keep telling him speech level. So here's a good exercise. Just go ba, 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 ba. Just talking it kind of in a lower voice. Ba, 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 ba. It's really forward. And then you just hold it one. Ba, ba, ba. And just that. And then from there, you beautify it by just sort of creating a little bit more lift. Ba. And there it is. It's forward and tall. And I don't have to go, or get all this larynx, that rasp you get. It's just ba. Now, there is a limit. Not everybody, not everybody's born to sing low notes. And your voice will only go as low as your physiology will let it go. You can decrease your range, make your range a little bit lower, but you can't go, it is what it is. Not everybody's born to it. I had a voice teacher who got me, however, to sing better, more resonant low notes with this exercise. You'll never believe it, but this is what we did. Hoo, hoo, hoo. A really not pretty, just pure falsetto, 5-3-1. Hoo, hoo, hoo. And we would do that for 30 seconds, a minute of just that, up and down the scale a little bit. And then all of a sudden, he'd have me go back to bass. Hoo, hoo, hoo. And all of a sudden, I got this sort of lift and resonance that came from learning to sing with that falsetto voice. So basses, you can try that at home too. Is this boring, you guys? Are you okay with all this? Okay. I hate talking. I'm such a people person that I hate just talking myself without it. I'm a teacher. I'm used to being interrupted. Do people that can't carry a tune have any room in your chorus? The short answer to that question is yes, they do. But the longer answer is, if they really can't carry a tune, do they sing in our chorus? No, they don't. They're definitely, and our chorus sort of has two levels. There's two auditions in our chorus. They're not hard. The first audition is that a guy has to be able to sing his part to a old song. You can get it for free from the Barbershop Harmony Society. It's called I'd Love to Live in Loveland with a Girl Like You. It's a simple old polecat song, basically. And we ask everybody to be able to sing their part in a quartet. And so when they're ready to audition, we get 3 other guys who don't sing their part, and we stand them up in front of our small music team. Our small music team is usually about 13 people, and then they sing. And if they can hold their part to that song, and sing with a quality that we know would match our chorus, then they get into that first part. But they don't get to sing in public with us. Anybody who comes can join us on the risers. They were on the risers with us, and their rite of passage to sing in public is they have to turn in a recording of themselves singing. We usually pick out an uptune and a ballad from our repertoire. If we're getting ready to compete, it might be our contest uptune and ballad. And they have to perform into a recording those 2 songs and turn them into the section leaders. The section leaders listen to them. They have to be, note accurate, and sung with a quality and stuff that will benefit our chorus. And while that's going on, we have a visual team that's watching the guy and making sure that he's learning how to sing with a good, presentation, with a good face and all of that, and coaching him along the way for that. When that person finally is able to get those 2 recordings in and the visual person passes him on the visual aspect, then they can perform with us in public. We have several guys in our chorus who have either retired from the chorus or really never became performing chorus members, but they're still vital, critical to our chorus, doing things, administrative tasks. When we have shows, they're building stuff, and they're on the crew. They're helping us with fundraising and they're part of the family. One of our barber shoppers of the year a few years ago was a non-singing member of the chorus who worked so hard for our chorus that we had to give him Barbershopper of the Year, even though he didn't perform with us. So we like people to be a part of our organization, whether they can sing or not. My understanding is that the barbershop style arose from freed slaves and their descendants basically doing jazz with no instruments, finding chords they love. Is that basically valid? Does it have anything to do with barbershop as we know it today? You kind of have the idea of it. It definitely happened. I'm sure that there were a lot of former slaves that sang that early close harmony style for sure. It really, I'm sorry, I'm going to turn my ringer off. I've heard it go off a couple times. So Black people, especially in the South, they couldn't go to vaudeville shows with white people. They couldn't, it was much more difficult for them to go out and, on the town and see shows and everything like white people would. So their mode of entertainment for a lot of them was to gather in barbershops. Every barbershop, I think that a lot of you, I'm sure, are familiar enough with the history that a lot of barbershops, especially in the South, were Black owned. And so Black would congregate there. There's a back room where they'd all chew the fat, lie, tell lies and swap stories and sing together. Didn't have to be a cappella. Many times they were singing with a guitar or with a band. They sang with instruments sometimes, but a lot of it was a cappella. They would also get together in bars and lots of places, but they really did get together in barbershops. But Louis Armstrong, Jelly Roll Morton, W.C. Handy, some of these great names of Black musicians that we know all started as young Black barbershop singers. And white people started kind of hearing that. They would even hire some of these Black groups to come serenade their sweethearts and things like that. When minstrel shows hit, well, a lot of white people in blackface would imitate that style that they heard these Black people singing. I would not say that it's jazz. It's not jazz. It's not jazz. It's really kind of a hybrid style that really was more of almost like a hymn style, but with that melody and the second voice down. There's a whole history about even how that kind of came about. Jazz came much later in a sense. Of course, they're all related to one another. But the barbershop then, when I did my dissertation, I had recordings from quartets pre-20th century from the 1890s. So that's not too far removed from when barbershop was probably getting started, which was probably happening in the 1880s maybe or something like that. And they sound, if you listen to it, you would absolutely recognize that as a barbershop quartet. Absolutely you would. Yep, you'd hear that same call and response of Sweet Adeline and Bright Was the Night, and some of those songs were being sung back then. So the style of music, the chords, the harmony, you would absolutely recognize it. Barbershop and contests and things much more fancy now, of course, than those early recordings. But absolutely, yep. And barbershop became a big form of entertainment. It really went out of fashion early in the 1900s. It would have died out completely if not for O.C. Cash and Rupert Hall starting the Barbershop Harmony Society, SBB, SQSA. If they hadn't started it, I don't know if anybody would be singing barbershop today. That's the only thing that kind of rescued it from the mire from going extinct. The youngest member of the Portland Downeasters was 2 years old when he joined. What? His dad, Miles Hunt, sang with us. Well, you all have to tell me that story. So he joined, but I'm assuming he wasn't putting on a tuxedo and getting on the risers at 2 years old and singing tenor. Somebody has to unmute and tell me that story.
George, I think this one's for you. He was in your quartet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you want the story? Well, there's not much to it. We were in a quartet together, and he had his first child, and he wanted him to be a barbershopper. So signed him up.
That's
Didn't
amazing.
matter. Didn't matter if he could talk yet.
Exactly. Talking is far less important than singing. Dave from Nashua says, everyone I know who's tried Jamulus has not been able to beat the lag. When we do Jamulus, we don't have a lag issue with the Jamulus part of it. The lag issue is the Zoom part of it, but the Jamulus part, we've not. Lag has been the least of our concerns. Our concerns has been that it's just quirky. It's a little different if you have a Mac as opposed to a PC. One week it works, and the next week somebody's doesn't work. You got to wear headphones, and sometimes it's too loud. Sometimes it's quirky. It's not an easy thing to. We had a couple guys in our chorus who literally spent hours and hours and hours and basically went through it with every single guy in the chorus to try to make sure that their system was set up right. And we still have probably a quarter of our chorus that can't seem to make Jamulus work. So it's not a real solution. It's just one way that we can sing together, but we haven't had any lag issues with Jamulus. We've just had connectivity issues. Do you have a plan for face-to-face singing? When is it safe? Nobody knows, of course, when it's safe, but I imagine we'll start. I think the way we'll end up unrolling face-to-face rehearsals is probably in smaller groups, maybe sectionals or mini choruses, divide our chorus into 4. That's how we're doing the car rehearsals. We have 4 small choruses because you can't have 110 guys in one parking lot. All, you can only have as many as you have the sound. We have a soundboard with 26 channels, so we can't be any bigger than that. A cable running from each channel to a microphone that's in a car. But we'll probably do, smaller groups, distanced with singers mass. That's what my choirs at school are doing. I have choirs at school that are about 14 to 15 students. We stand in a big room, in a big circle. The students are 9 feet apart from each other, 9 to 12 feet, and really, really distant. I'm probably at least 10 to 12 feet away from any of them, standing in the middle, and they have singers masks. I can show you one. I don't know if you guys have used them, but a singer's mask sort of looks like this. And it's a weird kind of thing because it's like a duck bill, but it's kind of got a wire so that I can open my jaw, ooh, and that when I inhale, I'm not sucking in mask. And I assume that I'm probably a little more muffled, but you can tell that, it's pretty good. You can hear me pretty well. So that's what we're using in my schools. I think the ambassadors will eventually do something like that. Gosh, I hope it's sooner rather than later. Do you have specialists in your course that develop your presentation goals and movements? Specialists is probably too strong a word, but we have a bunch of guys who definitely do work on our visual aspect. And it's kind of done by committee, to be honest with you. We don't have 1 or 2 guys that's just great at that right now in our course, but we do have a few guys who are very good at it. And when they work together, they come up with great ideas. And it kind of comes through me, and I kind of help as well. How do you teach singers to transition from their chest to their head voice? How do you teach mixed voice? Well, that's a really long, drawn out thing, but the secret, honestly, is start with the head voice. Everything comes down, beautiful ooh, ooh, and never, ever, ever letting anybody sing basically all chest voice. Never, not even basses. Ooh, just chest voice. Ooh, it always has a little bit of. If I talk, this is sort of the sound, and it's always ooh. And we do a lot of sighing and a lot of light singing. We call it studio singing, and we really, really spend a lot of time on that. None of our singers, none, sing with that kind of a, we just don't. That's not the way we do it. We always are just everything is very heady. And we start that with the warm up, coming down, falsettoing into the, you know, head voice down. So if you don't really have, if you're not sure how to do that, get a voice teacher in there, somebody who knows something about the voice. Bring in a coach to teach you all how to find that voice, because without that voice, you're just going to make ugly music, I'm afraid. So that's what we do. But you can do that head voice just by a lot of sighing and siren and up and down, singing through a straw, you guys individually. I don't know if any of you have practiced that, even into a cup of water where you're blowing bubbles while singing. Ooh, and with one of these coffee straws, those thin straws, it elongates your vocal tract and takes so much tension out of your voice. And that's where that chest voice comes from, is that hard voice comes from a tension and too much push. You got to relax everything. So relaxation is key. This is absolutely great. Thanks, Tom. How do we get in touch with your technically savvy people in your chorus? If you guys, I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me just put I'm putting my email address in the chat. If you send me an email, oops, that was just to Fred. Only Fred got that. Let me change that to everyone. Sorry. If you want to just send me a quick email that says, could you put us in touch? I'll be happy to put you in touch with them. They're super busy all the time trying to help people, but I'm sure that we've got some specs and documents that are all written out that they can send you exactly what we've done. So send me a quick email and I will happily forward it on to them. Okay. When your chorus learns a song with choreo, do you learn the music first or music and choreo together? We've definitely learned the music first. Not sure if it's the best way, but that's what we do. I want to make sure that the music is really in good shape and that we're singing well. And the moment you add choreo, it all goes right down the toilet. It just goes to crap. I hate choreography. I hate it with all my heart, but it's a necessary evil. So we try to learn the music as well as we can and get it to where we can just sound great when we stand still. And then we add the choreo, you know, sort of step by step. And as we learn the choreo, what we really work hard to do is keep singing beautifully. I'd rather the guys know muscularly only one thing at the beginning, how to make their muscles of their body make beautiful music, period. That way, when we start adding choreography, we can keep reminding them what it's supposed to sound like, and we go back and forth. Everybody stand still and sing it. Now do the choreography and sing it, and still, you know, maintain that sound. That's what we do. But the truth is, no matter what you do, it sounds crappy for a few weeks, and then eventually, but after they learn the choreography and aren't thinking about it, then they remember how they were singing it before, and the muscle memory kind of kicks back in. But you know, you can only think of one thing at a time, and if you're concentrating on choreography, you're not concentrating on anything else. That's why I think choreography should be fairly easy. Our secret to choreography, you guys, if you go back and watch a lot of our videos, the front row is doing lots of stuff, and the back rows, if you just focus on what they're doing, they don't do a lot. You know, they basically kind of do an extension of what the front row's doing. They might have a lot of movement, but the movement might just be sweep your hand this way, right? Raise your hands up in the air. And we try to make sure that the choreography supports the music. So if we want to grow a chord, we're not going to bring our hands down if the plan is to grow the chord, right? If we want to sing a smooth line, we don't do choppy moves. So that's what we do. I'm making all these answers too long for your simple questions. How many quartets do you coach now, both students and adults? Honestly, you guys, I don't do a ton of coaching. Of course, COVID has taken it away almost completely. But even before COVID, just because I was raising kids and had a family and a quartet and a job so I had to I love to coach, but It was one thing that I didn't really have to do, unlike my family and my job and my quartet, and even my quartet I don't have to do. But so I don't do a ton of coaching. But now my youngest just went off to college, so I might be able to start doing a little bit more in the future. When the Gas House Gang was singing, we were gone 2 to 3 weekends every month. So if I were going to come home, I wanted to spend the rest of that every other day with my family. I hope that this, can we read your dissertation? You can. It's not published, but if you do an interlibrary loan with Washington University in St. Louis, not Washington the state, but it's called Washington University in St. Louis. It's in their library, and I know a lot of people have successfully been able to do interlibrary loans to see it. Any clues as to building relationships with music educators? We all understand how busy they are. How can we encourage them to make time for us? So here's the thing. Don't ask them to make time for you. They won't. There's no way that you will encourage them to make time for you. Here is what you do to establish relationships with music educators. Make their job easier. Now, how can you make their job easier? You can say to them, like we do an acapalooza camp in the daytime. We have Tuesdays is all bass clef, like tenors and basses. Wednesdays is all sopranos and altos. We used to call that boys and girls, but now we have boys singing, and so we're trying to not designate in that way. Y'all, each day we have 600 kids from about 30 different high schools in the area, black and white. So over those 2 days, we have 1,200 high school students that come in and learn barbershop harmony. You know how it works? And when we open it up for the year, we open up the registration, it sells out within about an hour and a half, and we start a waiting list. So much so that we had to tell schools, if you made it this year, you may have to wait, the first priority for the following year is for schools that weren't there the year before. So lots of times schools actually have to wait 2 years. It's all we could do. But I think part of why it's successful is this. The teachers don't have to do anything to prepare for it except get the kids there. Pay the money and get the kids there. It's cheap. We only charge $15 a kid, and that basically covers their lunch. We get them there after the bus arrives at their school. Then so they're already at school, and then take another bus to our camp, and we're done by about 1:15, so that if they live within a half an hour of where we are, they're back at school before their bus takes them back home again. So the teacher doesn't have to worry about planning an evening, anything. The teacher doesn't have to worry about teaching them the music in advance. We teach it that day. The kids come. I have my college kids sing the first song for them. So all my college boys sing the tenor bass clef one. Then we break off into section rehearsals. We have 4 different section rehearsal rooms. Now imagine each sectional has 200-ish people. Well, it's like 600 people. So each sectional has about 150 people in it. So it takes big rooms. But they work in a section rehearsal on that song for 45 minutes. Then they come back into our main hall and they sing it together. And then we teach a second song the same way. The teachers don't have to do anything. That's why it's really popular. And the students leave that day knowing 2 songs that the teachers didn't have to teach them. We also did Project Harmony, where we said to the teachers, you don't have to do anything except tell us if you want to have a quartet or an octet. Give us the names of those kids. We will come into your classroom. We'll bring them the music. We'll pay for the music. We'll coach them. We'll teach them out, after class or, during your class if you want us to. We'll do all of that. We'll do everything. We'll take care of it all, and you'll have a quartet in your program. and they'll sing everywhere, and they'll recruit for your choir, because the moment that this quartet learns some songs, they'll sing it up and down the hallways. You know how barbershoppers are. And they'll bring in more kids than you know. That's how you get teachers on your side. You make it easier for them. Don't ask for their time. They cannot give you their time. You give them your time. And of course, invite them to be on your shows, go to their concerts. If they're working with you, go to their concerts and tell them how great they were so that they see your face after the concert. I think the trouble we get into is we're reaching out to teachers trying to get them to come to things and do, they don't want to. You go to them. How important is to sing contemporary songs? It's not important, I don't think. If your chorus or quartet wants to do it, do it. I don't think it's important. It's way more important to sing whatever you sing well than it is what you're, it's not what you're singing, it's how you're singing. That's my opinion about it. Jamulus does not work well through Wi-Fi. Hardwired is the way to go. Correct. That's right. Wi-Fi it makes things worse. And smallish groups is correct. And you have to use headphones. And if you Macs have built-in mics, but PCs you have to even have a microphone. It's not easy. Is this teaching barbershop voices different than teaching other styles? Only a little bit different. We tend to go a little bit more forward singing, but we still have space. We still breathe the same way. We have a little less vibrato than if we were doing solo singing, but a lot of the resonance and things are very much the same. We don't sing robust operatic voices in a chorus situation, but I think it's very similar. Do you ever use vibrato in the chorus? Yes, we do. We never ask the guys to sing straight tone. Straight tone is a certain kind of ugly, pressed, muscular, but we ask for shimmer. We don't want to hear we don't want to hear vibrato. We want to hear voices that are constantly like shimmering in the air. I use a little fidget spinner. I have a few little toys that I have. One of my students gave me a gold fidget spinner, and I always hold it up to the chorus and spin it so that it spins. I feel it say, this is how your voice should sound. It should sound just like this. I'll show it to you just a minute. I'm a visual learner, so these things help me a lot. So here's my little gold fidget spinner. I don't know if you can see it, but it goes like that. And so I just hold it like this. And I'll have the guys spin their finger like a fidget spinner. Y'all can do that. You're all muted. Try it once. Ready? Just like fidget spin and sing an ah. Ready? And ah. That feeling of really spinning, that's what we teach. That's what we teach, especially for last chords. Barbershoppers on the final chord, they press against a brick wall. And they just, really press. So with ambassadors, we'll try it once pressing against the make-believe wall, Marcel Marceau style, and then we'll do the fidget spinner on the last chord, and that's way, way, way better. We always add a little bit of vibrato. I tell the guys right before the release, everybody put vibrato on it. And so it gives it that little extra lift at the very end. Has there been a trend for seasoned, talented quartets selecting more contemporary intricate? Oh, yes. Intricate a cappella songs, and is barbershop the safer choice? I think that a lot of us haven't you seen a trend that a lot of the quartets that are out there are singing stuff that's a little bit more on the contemporary a cappella. They usually have at least a few songs that have that contemporary a cappella feel. And that's okay, but I think at the heart, they're still barbershoppers. They sound best doing the barbershop stuff. Barbershopper is a safer choice for barbershoppers, it is. Barbershop is much more difficult to sing, in my opinion, than contemporary a cappella music. I love contemporary a cappella music, but it's mostly a really good soloist with a bass that can keep a steady bass line, and other people just kind of singing some nice harmonies behind it. Whereas Barbershop, that homophonic 4-part ring every chord, that to me is way harder. I think anybody who can do that can kind of do just about any kind of a cappella style. Your message about music educators is exactly what Kirk Young told us. Well, good. I'm glad. If I'm agreeing with Kirk Young, then I know I'm doing the right thing, because he's a smart cookie. I think most of us by now are familiar with the Gold Medal Moment speech from Harmony College a number of years ago. I'm just curious, what is your favorite or most memorable gold medal that your chorus has given you outside of winning a BHS gold medal? Well, I can tell you the answer to this, and it's not just my chorus, it's the whole Barbershop Harmony Society, without bringing the room down too much. But the greatest gold medal I ever received from Barbershop and Barbershoppers and my chorus was when my brother got very sick. When he got cancer, the Gas House Gang, we were at height of our popularity. My brother was an amazing guy, just a wonderful person, a great baritone, and he got esophageal cancer, and it was really bad. And I could go on and on about all the details of it, of what happened, and how Mike Slamka, the lead of Crossroads, took us we were on a show, we had a show booked, and Rob was in such pain that he couldn't fly. And I begged Rob to go to the doctor. And Mike Slamka, we asked Power Play, Mike's quartet, if they would sing for us on this show in Washington State. And Mike said, well, my quartet could do it, but how about if I just sing baritone? I'll learn baritone to all your songs. And we said, well, great. So the three of us went. Mike sang baritone, and it was at that weekend that Rob went to the doctor that Friday that I found out that he had cancer. My dad died of cancer at the age of 44. Rob was only 42. So it was a really, really hard time. And in that journey, when Rob got sick, this was in May, he died in September. So it was basically a 3-month journey. And the outpouring of love from around the world that came to our family through those 3 horrible months, without Barbershoppers, I don't know what our family would have done. I don't know what people do who are going through that kind of pain and don't have the kind of support system that we were given through Barbershoppers. Obviously, the Ambassadors of Harmony guys, they were there every step of the way. One guy set up a trust fund for his son. Guys came out and mowed the lawn. Guys came out and fixed the roof. Guys came out and did anything that needed to be done. Meals, not a problem. They were always meals. So the Ambassadors of Harmony came through like crazy. That's when you realize that this is more than just a singing chorus, right? That these are the people they've got your back. And that was just told us so much. Power Play won the International in July. Rob was in the throes of cancer then. And they were getting ready to go sing, I think in Ohio, Power Play was, at the Buckeye Invitational or something like that, something. And here's what Power Play did. Before they went to this other thing they were going to go do, they had just a 6-seater plane. They had chartered a little plane. They flew to St. Louis on this plane. The 4 of them, having just won the International, drove out to Rob's house, because Rob was in hospice care by that time, laying in his own bed, very sick. And Power Play came into his house with all of us there. And they went into his bedroom, stood at the foot of his bed while the rest of us crowded in there, and they sang their contest songs for Rob. Now that's what barbershoppers do. Like, wow. And they didn't just sing them, like they performed them like they were singing for 10,000 people at an international, like they did they did it. And it was the most unbelievable, beautiful, incredible moment I've ever seen. Acoustics guys would send us care packages for like every 2 weeks. Todd Johnson, the tenor of acoustics, he had a layover in St. Louis and did an extra long, like 8-hour layover and rented a car from the airport, drove to Rob's house to visit him. Just tons of things like that happened. When he was in the hospital, there were so many cards and letters that came into Rob. We taped them all on the walls, and you couldn't tell. By the time we left the hospital, you couldn't tell what color the paint was on those walls because every square inch of all 4 walls was covered in cards. And I'll never forget the nurse walking in and saying, every time I walk into this room, it's like walking into a hug. And that's what barbershoppers do for you. So you want to know my gold medal? I'd trade every single gold medal I've ever won on stage if I could just keep the memory of that experience and what barbershoppers do for people and what this organization really is. That's the greatest gold medal I've ever received, and I didn't earn it at all. That was just a gift from loving people. So there you are. Also, things like Bill Kane. Does any of you old timers remember the name Bill Kane? Well, he was the bass of the dang Suntones, and he had cancer that he was struggling, and it eventually claimed his life after Rob's. Bill Kane, who Rob and I listened to as kids and idolized, every week would call Rob and me. Can you imagine your phone ringing and Bill Kane is on the other end? But Bill Kane was, read about Rob, got our phone numbers, and he would call every week and talk about, have you tried this? Because he was having his own cancer issues. Have you tried this treatment? They're doing this now. This study has come out. Have you read this? And just encouragement. And I remember Rob being very sick and saying, Jim, if anybody would have told me when I was a kid that Bill Kane would be calling me weekly, I would never have believed it. Barbershoppers are just beautiful people. Beautiful people. That's why I frankly love Everyone in Harmony. I know it's controversial, y'all. Maybe some of you think it's the worst thing that ever happened to barbershop. I'm telling you, we need everyone in harmony. The more people that can be beneficiaries of what I just described, the better. The talent that we're going to get because of Everyone in Harmony, the love that we can pour on because of Everyone in Harmony. You guys, this seals what we are all about as an organization. It's time. So that's my own feeling, and probably some of you might just immediately hate me for saying that, but I think it's the most beautiful thing that barbershop's done in a long time. It's way, way better than saying black people can't be a member. I'll tell you that. I'd rather bring everybody in than keep anybody out. And that experience with my brother really taught me that. So there you go. Is there an official list of contestable barbershop songs arrangements that is that list? I honestly don't know of a list that's like published of barbershop songs. I think most of us just kind of ask around, listen to recordings, ask arrangers, I've not seen any sort of list that says, here's a bunch of great barbershop songs. So if there is one, I just don't know about it. So that's kind of it. I don't see any more questions unless I've missed any, but is there anybody else that has any that you'd like to ask? I could do this all night. And I'm dying to hear other people's voices. Mine is really even getting old to me.
Yeah, Jim, it's Gerald Farrell in Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Wow.
You might remember back in 1998, the Sunrise Division had a little mini Harmony College. We called it Harmony Homecoming. And we were so pleased in that year to have the newly minted, pretty much, Gas House Gang in Truro, Nova Scotia. Do you remember that?
I do remember Nova Scotia.
We
I have a terrible memory, so it must have been special because I remember it.
Well, it was special to everybody that was there. And I keep telling people about those early days and the things we did here in Sunrise. We would go after the best quartets. And a lot of times we got them to come to Nova Scotia and really, really had a wonderful time. And do you remember the T-shirt? We made a T-shirt for you with the 4 guys. Redmond Curtis was a founding member of the Cape Breton Chordsmen in Sydney, 1972. He passed away a year ago, actually, but I commissioned him. He was a great artist and he did the artwork. So I just wanted to share that with you. First of all, in fact, I have it here. I want to send the original signed artwork by Redmond Curtis to you as a thank you for all you've done in the Gas House Gang for everybody across the Barbershop Society. And I hope you like it. I'll just show you. This is the original.
I remember it.
Yeah, there was this part which was the Harmony Homecoming.
Yeah.
And this piece is you guys, and I absolutely loved it. I don't know about you.
I think if I had time, I could go up and bring that T-shirt down. I have it. I still have it.
Well,
I love it.
That's great.
Sweet.
So, look, I want you to have this, and again, thank you for everything you've done for Barbershop.
Really kind. Thank you, Gerald.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You guys, let me tell you another super quick story, because I heard that Jim Clancy was with you guys. Was it just last week?
Mm-hmm.
Jim Clancy is one of those people in my life that, I've had a chance. One of the blessings of winning an international is that you get to meet all your heroes, right? Rub elbows and even sing tags with all the people you listened to when you were a kid. Jim Clancy is one guy who, even though I met him, he's, I consider him a friend. I still feel like a 10-year-old kid every time Jim Clancy walks in. I'm starstruck by that guy. I'll never outgrow Jim Clancy. That's just one of those guys that, that is my Stan Musial. You know what I mean? And I want to tell you, here's the heart of Jim Clancy. I'm sure you could already tell when you talked to him last week what kind of gentleman he is. But let me tell you a super quick story. In 2009, the Vocal Majority was competing that year, as was the Ambassadors of Harmony. Now, Jim had coached our chorus a few times, as did his son, Greg. And we were very close to him, very close to the Vocal Majority. Our chorus and the Vocal Majority are very close to each other. And so, really, really liked him. And we had won the international in 2004, but we lost it when we came back. We were able to come back in 2007 and 2008, lost it both times. So we'd only had the one championship. Meanwhile, Vocal Majority had won by that time like 10 or 11 of them. And, they were just amazing. Obviously, the greatest barbershop chorus of all time. And they had not lost one in decades. So we were there, they had sung, they were amazing, and we came out and did our 76 trombone set that year. And it went over really well, and people seemed to really like it. And a lot of people were saying that I think you beat the Vocal Majority, which of course, we never went into a contest to beat anybody. And I really, frankly, I didn't know if I wanted to beat the Vocal Majority. I want them to win forever, and I never want Jim Clancy not to win. But after we got done singing, went to our place in the house to watch the rest of the contest. After one chorus sang, and the lights came up, I was sitting on the aisle, and the lights came up, and all of a sudden I see coming up the stairs right toward me, Jim Clancy, who is the size of a tree, just tall and striking. And he was coming right at me. And he kneels down next to my chair and he said, Jim, you know how he talks, Jim? He said, that set that you did was outstanding. He said, it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in barbershop. He said, you know, I knew, he says, I just want you to know that it looks like you might beat us with that set. And he said, I want you to know that we went out on contest and we sang as well as I think we've ever sung before. So I just want you to know that if you beat us, that you've beaten the vocal majority at our very best. Now that, you know, I will go to my grave thinking of Jim Clancy telling me, not, you know, well, we struggled, so we might, we left the door open. No, he did not say that. He did not. He gave me the honor of saying that we beat his chorus. If we beat his chorus, we beat them at their very best. And he said, I knew that someday we were going to get beat by somebody. And if we're going to get beat by anybody that I know in this whole world, I would want it to be JimHenry and the Ambassadors of Harmony. And I just hugged him. And I said, Jim, I don't want you to lose. I don't want to beat you. And he laughed and he said, and if anybody else said that, I wouldn't believe him. He said, but I think I believe that coming from you. And I said, it's true, Jim. I want you to, you always, Jim Clancy wears gold medals. That's what Jim Clancy does. So anyway, we did go on to win that international. And nobody was more gracious than the vocal majority and Jim Clancy after the fact. It brought us even closer together. That was a nice gold medal moment too. Jim Clancy, what an amazing human being he is. All right, sorry, see, I'm talking again. Dang it, I can't help myself. Anybody else? I know it's getting late over there. It's only 8 o'clock for me.
We're later here. Jim, we are just so grateful for you. This has been absolutely stupendous. We're going to close out with any announcements and then invite you to join us as we sing Keep the Whole World Singing. After that, anyone who wants to hang around and just chat, and that includes you, Jim, if you want to, you're more than welcome to. I do want everyone to know that 2 weeks from now, we're having another barbershop great come to join us as a guest, which is Dave Zimmerman, the phenomenal tenor from International Gold Medal Quartet, the Instant Classic. I figure anyone who's good enough to sing tenor with Theo Hicks must be pretty good.
He's great. He's a great tenor.
So, any other announcements? So, George, I think it's up to you.
Okay, well, I can make an announcement. I put it in the chat, but everyone keeps asking me privately. It's like, is there going to be a recording of this? Is there going to be a recording of this? And Jim graciously agreed that it'd be okay if we posted it to the entire universe. I hope that's okay. And but it'll be be a day or two before it's edited. We have this meeting with Jim Clancy as well, and Roger Ross visited us a couple of weeks ago and got him up there. I'm going to go back. Finally, we created a YouTube channel, so we're going to spam everybody. But that's it.
Do you mind if I just give a little commercial? This coming Friday is the Ambassadors of Harmony Gala. And I really wish y'all would come. We need a bunch of people to come and you will love it. You'll see videos of the ambassadors and a lot of our youth programs that we've talked about tonight. Plus, we're going to get live performances from Double Date and from GQ. And of course, there's all sorts of auction items and things like that. And it costs you nothing to attend. It's just Friday night. And it costs you nothing. Just come and enjoy. We just want people there. And just go to AOH Gala, AOHGALA, AOHGala.org. I think you can RSVP, but really you don't have to do anything but just show up that day and click on the link and you're there.
Hey, Jim.
That's this Friday, March 6th. Yeah.
Jim, I think isn't it this Saturday, the 6th?
Saturday? March 6th, whatever March 6th.
It's not Friday night. I think it's Saturday night.
Thank you, Scott, for helping me out. All right, March 6th, whatever it is.
Yeah,
March
I
6th.
signed up for it and I'm going, shit, wait a minute.
See how barbershoppers help one another? Thank you, Scott. So whatever March 6th is, good. That gives me another day to lose weight so I can fit into my tuxedo.
I'll make sure I don't edit that public service announcement off of the.
All right, sorry. See, I keep interrupting. This is my problem.
No, you're way more interesting than anything else we've got going on.
What time is the show on Saturday Eastern time, or any time, but to specify?
Let me. I can tell you. Keep talking, and I'll break in again and tell you. If you go to aohgala.org, it will tell you all that information.
Okay, that's fine. I'll get it.
But I'm going to it right now. So yeah, it's 7 p.m. Central Time, so it would be what, 8 o'clock your time.
And it's a great auction. There's a great auction going on as well.
Lots of great items, right? Lots of great items, and opportunities for coaching and voice lessons and all sorts of cool things.
That sounds fun.
And all this, the money that we raise is for all of our youth outreach programs. So that's important too.
Okay, I hate to call this to an end, but here we go.